we have learned a lot of things from the Europe about the agri photovoltaics and their experiences. And now I'll discuss these experiences and our efforts in India to develop the agrivoltaic system, which is always called as agri-photovoltaic system and sometimes also called as the co-location of agriculture and photovoltaics. But it is not obvious the solar pumping applications in agriculture, as Toby has mentioned in his presentation, that application of solar PV pumping system in farmers' field as such is not the agrivoltaic system. So we have started this work in our institute, Central Edit Zone Research Institute, which is located in western part of our country, and it is an institute under Ministry of Agriculture, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, and we are working in this energy aspect in this institute for the last 30-40 years. So we have started our solar energy work with solar thermal applications, and later on we have started work on the solar photovoltaics from 80s. We have started with different types of solar water pumping system, then solar PV applications in agriculture. So from 2016 onwards, we have started working on the agrivoltaic system. So just in 2016, we have tried to design the agrivoltaic system from the experience learned from Europe. And if we can recall, the agrivoltaic system, the term was coined, I think, from Germany. Two guys, Goedberger and Jastrow. These two people in 1982 has coined this concept that agriculture and photovoltaics can be joined together. And later on, by people like Dupraj, then Maru in France, they have carried on this work. And for the last 4 or 5 years, there is a jump in agrivoltaic system. Every part of this world have now started to work on the agrivoltaic system. So why the agrivoltaic system is now in the topic? Because everything has been talked about in our previous presentation, that food, water, energy nexus, the land productivity is poor, and also the environmental hazards for PV generation. So if the land productivity is poor, farmers are not always ready to grow crops on those land where land is already degraded or where it is rain-fed agriculture but uncertainty of rainfall is there. So agriculture is not a profitable business on those land. So there agrivoltaics maybe give some options to generate some income from those degradable land. And if the land is always posing some environment or challenging with some environmental hazards, for example, the dust erosion, deposition of soil on the PV panels, and the dislodging of the solar panel itself, burial of this total solar PV structure under sand dunes. So these are some environmental hazards which are facing in the desert part or in the arid parts of the country where solar energy is available in plenty. So these are in two opposite directions. Solar energy is available in plenty, but there are so many environmental hazards on those lands. So in those conditions, PV generation is always sometimes affected. But if we can go agrivoltaic system, then it is a win-win situation. So both these conditions, the agrivoltaic system is a win-win situation. And as we know that both agriculture and photovoltaic generation process uses the solar energy as the key resources. One uses the photosynthesis process, which have efficiency of 3 to 4%, whereas the photovoltaic process, which uses sun energy with an efficiency of 12 to 15%. Now there are so many solar PV modules in the market which claims that the efficiency is around 25%, 30%. But I am taking an average efficiency of the solar PV module available in the market now, which is around 15%. So obviously, a farmer in the very fragile ecosystem, they will grow or go for investment on this process, the photovoltaic process, rather than the photosynthesis process. So in those cases, our food security may be challenged if everybody landowner switched on the photovoltaic parts. So that's why the combination of photosynthesis and photovoltaic process together on a single land use system is always a win-win situation, and it is always improving the land productivity. The degraded land productivity can be used. Here another challenge will appear, the water. Where energy is available in plenty, that means energy is sufficient, but water will be limiting in those environments. Where energy is available in plenty, the evaporation demand will be very much high. So there will be water is a limiting factor. So under those situations, what type of food we can grow and what are the energy requirement on those situations, we have to couple this thing together. This is called the food water energy nexus, how the agrivoltaic system can perform better to improve the overall land productivity in those regions. So these are the main concept of the agrivoltaic system, and whatever our previous speakers have already shown. Then in Germany, different the experiment by Heidelberg. I have seen this paper. It is published in by the first of the Sindel. So there are also different pictures have been shown, and Tobias actually gave a very wide view of the agrivoltaic system throughout the world. I am quite fascinated with different types of agro PV system is now also going up in India and also throughout the world. So whatever we have learned from the existing PV system in the Europe, for example, this picture, it has been taken from the paper published by Maru et al. In 2019 in a Nature Sustainability. So this picture has been given. So this is a high mounting structure, and the crops are grown below the PV panel, and we can see that PV panel density is not too high. And actually the Dubraj et al. Started this work, then Maru et al. Actually continued this work. Then again these two pictures, our previous speaker has already shown this thing. This is actually the work carried out in Heidelberg, Germany, and it has been published in 2020, this year itself. So what are the things we have learned? All these structures, agri-photovoltaic structures, these are of high mounting structure, and the PV density is low. As per the conventional PV plant installation, it is low PV density. What about the cleaning of the PV module? How the cleaning of PV module can be done on a high mounting structure? And this question has been raised several times if the mounting structure is quite high. Even in Amity University, I have seen a 20 kilowatt agrivoltaic panel, which Tobias also has shown in his picture. So these are some challenges how we can clean the PV module in case of PV mounting structure is high. What is the economics of the system? How much cost it requires to install a PV system in the agricultural land, and what is the break-even period of the system? How much productivity we are gaining, and when the money will be returned back? That economics we have to calculate and we have to see. And third thing, the most important thing, if I install the agrivoltaic system in our agricultural land, lot of energy will be produced. What is the evacuation system of this energy? Who will be the purchaser, or how I will sell this electricity to the market? I cannot consume the every portion of this energy, whatever we can generate in our agricultural field, for the utilization in the field itself. So we have a solid mechanism to evacuate this energy to the grid, and this evacuation of energy to the grid is to be established very systematically. Otherwise, all these economics will be dropped down, because this much of solar PV installation in an agricultural field, one cannot consume so much of energy in the field itself. So we have a energy evacuation system. So based on this, all the learnings, we have designed different types of system in our agrivoltaic system. One is a single row PV module system, means only one PV module. This is a double row system, and this is a triple row. In case of single row, the interspace it is 2.95 meter. In case of double row PV design, it is 5.55 meter. And in case of triple row system, it is 8.90 meter. Obviously, the interspace area is quite high if the mounting structure is becoming high, because as per the solar zenith and solar azimuth angle, it will always will be changed, and it will be changed according to the location of the site. So these are the three designs we have created in our agrivoltaic system in different three blocks. And also the density we have created with different systems. This is a full density system, no gap in between the solar PV panels. And this single row system, another design was there, which I am not showing here. This was of half density, means 50% density. One gap is given in between two panels. In the block 2, the double row design, this is a 60% density PV module. Means top row of the module is with 60% density, so that some amount of light goes beyond the below the PV panel or also the interspace area of the agri PV system. And in the block 3, the top module has been installed with a 60% density. There are some other densities also. I am not showing here. I will show the basic 3 densities I am showing here now. Then we have tried with n number of crops, and we have mainly 3 selection criteria to select the crops. First criteria, it should have the low height, means it should not be more than 50 centimeter height, so that it cannot create shade on the solar PV module. Second criteria, the water requirement of the plant should be very much less. It should not be more than the annual rainfall pattern of those regions. For example, in Jodhpur, the annual rainfall is around 300 to 360, 350 mm. So the annual crop water requirement should not be beyond 350. Then we can always break the water balance situation in those regions. So that system will not be sustainable in nature. So that's why the water requirement of the crop should be very much less. Then the crop we select should have some degree of tolerance to shade. So from the literature we have surveyed the photosynthetic light requirement, means it is called the photosynthetic photon flux density or photosynthetically available radiation between 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer. Out of the solar energy spectrum, this much of amount of energy is available for the photosynthesis. So how much a plant is susceptible or tolerant to different amount of photosynthetically active radiation, based on that we have selected few crops. For example, kharif crops, we have selected moong bean, this is Vigna radiata, then moth bean, then cluster bean, then cowpea. These are the 3 crops we selected. And we found that the growth and yield of moong bean, that is Vigna radiata, was not affected by the shade of PV module, whereas rest 2 are affected, and which are reducing the yield by around 15 to 20%. In case of Rabi crops, we have chosen 3 economic crops. This is Plantago ovata, which is called Isubgul. This is Cuminum cyminum, which is called cumin. So these are the 2 crops grown in Rabi season, and the growth and yield are significantly affected by the shade of PV module. In the winter season, Rabi crops are always affected by the shade of the PV modules. We have also developed a agro PV system with medicinal crops, and we have tried different types of medicinal crops. Here we can see in the picture the Cassia angustifolia, which is called Sunamukhi, then aloe vera. It is very commerciable crop, and these 2 crops actually perform very well in the solar PV system. Below panel, we have also tried with some vegetable crops. Actually, the vegetable crops is always a shade tolerant crops. Actually, it does not produce grain; it produces some leafy vegetables. So that's why the performance was quite good. So this is the crop with Vigna radiata. This is the Vigna aconitifolium. This is Plantago ovata. So these crops are going very well in the agri-photovoltaic system. I am not showing the yield differences or detailed yield presentation here, but I am showing just few examples. Now, the water harvesting system. Actually, the idea came into our mind in the institute because in the Rajasthan, there is a nearby solar park of the country, which is around 1360 hectare land. and in those land, so many solar PV installations are going on. So we are receiving so many calls for giving solution how we can clean the PV modules in the arid environment. Because groundwater department denied to give water just to clean the PV modules, because they have other demands for the domestic supply, for irrigation demand, for industrial demand. There are so many water demands in the arid regions are there. So just for cleaning the PV module, they denied to supply the water. Then we went for the dust reduction by some shelter belt plant. We have given some consultancy to the some solar PV functionaries so that the dust load on the solar PV module can be reduced. Then the idea came up, why not to harvest the water from the solar PV module itself and store it in a place, and that water, stored water, can be recycled for cleaning and also to give some supplemental irrigation to crops. And this idea is actually going very well. And every year, even with 200, 300 mm rainfall, we are filling the tank of 1 lakh liter capacity in our system. So this is just a rainfall. Top of the PV module is connected with water conveying MS channel. Then it is underground PVC pipe network. Then water storage tank. Then the solar PV pump we have installed with the system, and it will be used for cleaning of PV module and supplemental irrigation. So based on our experiment for the 3 years from 2016 onwards, so these are this is the best model we have found, the double row model. With this top model with 60% density is the most profitable one in terms of economics and also in terms of feasibility. How we can go for different types of interculture operations, how we can go for the cultivation below the panel. So many questions came in mind when we see the agrivoltaic system. So this is the best model, and we have also chosen Mugbin as the base crop for the arid region, and Ishaqul is the base crop for the winter season, in the Rabi season. And these are the two vegetables we can grow in the below PV area. So these crops are for the arid ecosystem of the country. So we are now trying to do a multi-locational trial of this agrivoltaic system under our Ministry of Agriculture to develop a center of excellency in agrivoltaic system, so that multi-locational trial can be done to choose different types of crops for different agro-ecosystems of the country. Now next, it is the most important thing in terms of agricultural production system. Because whenever we are integrating agriculture plus photovoltaic, we should also concentrate on the agricultural production system. As you know, whenever we install solar PV system in agricultural land, the economics or the gain in monetary terms always comes from the solar PV part. That's why agricultural part is mostly neglected. Only 10-15%, maximum 10% economic gain I can get from agricultural part. But for agricultural production system, how we can increase, that should be our main focus in the agri-photovoltaic system. For this purpose, we have quantified the availability of photosynthetically active radiation, which is also called the photosynthetic photon flux density. That thing I have already introduced, that the solar energy spectrum from 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer, the energy available in this spectrum is called the PAR, photosynthetically active radiation. And out of solar energy, 45% of this energy comes in this region, in the PAR region. And that light is only effective in terms of photosynthesis. So any reduction in PAR will obviously reduce the yield or growth of the plant. So at different parts of the different locations of the agrivoltaic system, what is the availability of the PAR or PPFD? Then we can combine it or integrate it in a day, which is called the DLI, daily light integral. Daily light integral is the amount of light available at different parts or different locations in the agrivoltaic system. For example, here I am showing the DLI map, which is developed by repetitive measurements and repetitive locations, multiple locations in the agrivoltaic system, and we developed this map for the winter solstice period on the 22nd December in northern hemisphere, what will be the availability? For example, this red zone receiving only up to 5 mole per meter square per day, and this yellow zone is up to 20, and this green zone is up more than 20. So in this zone, it is very difficult to grow crop because most of the crop, the DLI requirement is more than 5. For example, tomato, I cannot grow tomato in a DLI with less than 5. So this red zone, it is very difficult to grow crops. Money plant, which requires very little amount of DLI, or grass, that type of crop can be grown, but most of the food grain crops cannot be grown in this region. So we can define this agrivoltaic zone system into distinctly 3 zones, which is called the full shaded area, partial shaded area, and the open area. So based on these 3 areas, we can segregate with different types of crops, which is suitable for those regions. Then we calculate the economics. And actually in European condition, I have not seen any type of economics of their system. How we can get the monetary benefit from the installation of the agro-PV system. For example, I have chosen here a double array model with a 60% density. I can install around maximum 400 kilowatt in a hectare. In a 1 hectare model, I have calculated the economics, and with an electricity sale price, means whatever energy I will generate, I will sell it with a price of 5 rupees per unit. With that economics, the internal rate of return will come 16%, the discounted payback period will come 10 years, and the simple payback period will come 5.87 years. So this is quite interesting to see that economics is quite feasible, provided that the sale of electricity with a price of 5 rupees per unit is there. Hello? If there is no evacuation of electricity from the agrivoltaic system, then it is not possible to get this economics. Even the price, if it is lowered down, suppose for example 3 rupees or 2 rupees, then also the economics will be changed. So this, keeping in this economics in mind, we have always to design the agrivoltaic systems in India. Now another part is the green energy generation. It will always generate energy which is called the free or the carbon free energy. In an 1 hectare system, maximum I can install 500 kilowatt. So likewise, if the coal-based power plant is, or coal-based power generation is replaced by the agrivoltaic-based generation, then in an hectare I can save 598 ton of carbon dioxide equivalent in a year in 1 hectare land. So this is a huge potential in terms of carbon budgeting. Then what is the business module? I chalked it and I have already presented this thing with the Ministry of Agriculture, and there is a participation from the Ministry of Renewable Energy also. In New Delhi, we presented this concept like the rooftop RESCO model. The agro-PV RESCO model can also be launched. And this has already been launched in the Kusum scheme in the part 1. So I have proposed that farmers will give land and RESCO company will provide the solar PV installation to develop a agrivoltaic system. And farmers' responsibility will be the cropping activity and the crop yield or farm produce, where the responsibility of the RESCO company will be the management of PV generation and evacuation of the PV generated electricity. Then whatever revenue will be generated, that will be shared as per the agreement between the farmers and RESCO company. In those cases, both farmer and RESCO company will be benefited in win-win situation. So this is a perfect business module which can be implemented for agri-PV system in India. And likewise, to keep all these things in tandem, we have already developed a policy paper on renewable energy, a new paradigm for growth in agriculture, and this was conducted in 2018 by National Academy of Agriculture Science, New Delhi, and we have published this paper, and this is available in website. It is a 20-page document. Every policy applications or policy relevance are discussed in this paper. So thank you very much.